right, it's take break on the rights news, and it's time for the press preview. First look at what's on the front pages. We start with our sister publication, course, this day. It has on its front page, are you only PDP NEC can suspend me? Those Goading what Exco are ignorant. Weaker support suspension, that's expected. Says chairman should have left. Court restrains party's national chair from parading himself as one. ICC access petition against Ononuga. Others over alleged incitement. He has a right that says acknowledgement means nothing yet. And then just below the logo of this day, NLC leadership meets to decide on nationwide protest today. That's found on page 27. And at the top mast, Boris Johnson to Nigeria's leaders, allow people freely choose those to lead them. That's from Johnson. And then NNPC releases additional 418 million liters of petrol in 7 days. That's found on page 5. I think the petrol issue is thinning out from what I witnessed.
Well, the Punch newspaper this morning, IU must go, G5 governors and the Atiku campaign clash. Benue Court affirms IU suspension, adjourns case till April 17. Ngige Emefiele meet NLC over planned strike. That says bank queues persist. One more headline. Don't travel to state of origin for census. That's from the NPC. If you want more guidelines on the upcoming census, you can check that out on page 13 of the Punch.
The Guardian newspaper, Nigerians have right to choose their leaders. That's according to former UK PM Boris Johnson. Cash squeeze in Ngige meets NLC. CBN to avert protest. INEC fixes April the 15th for supplementary Guba legislative polls. But also APC members insist on disqualification of Silva from Guba race. 420,000 investors of 7 firms shun dividends over inflation bureaucracy.
Right, let's look at Sun, the Daily Sun. More trouble for IU. Court restrains PDP chairman from acting in office. My suspension exercising futility. Pro-Tinubu protest rock Abuja. Supporters insist Tinubu didn't steal a mandate. Warn against spirit of June 12. And just beside the Sun logo there, I respect Yoruba. Can't disparage them. This is coming from Iwanyamu. Anyamo Siwe lecture, ex-UK PM, as Prime Minister Boris Johnson, seeks stronger Nigeria-Britain ties. FG moves to avert labour strike over Naira scarcity. And FMC Umuahia performs 11 kidney transplants, records 80% success. That's interesting. All right, let's go to the next paper.
All right, some international papers now. The Independent, focusing on Prince Harry. You see that photo of him as he arrived court yesterday in his case against the Mail newspapers, with Elton John there on the left and Sadie Frost. And just above that, Continuity, Sturgeon. Hamza Yousaf wins SNP leadership race and promises to take independent Scotland into the EU. All right, for the press preview, let's bring in Emmanuel Bello, who joins us now from the Offside Studio. Emmanuel, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Morning.
Let's take a look at this day, and I think also the Punch is leading with that story, focusing on the PDP and its quite controversial national chairman, or embattled national chairman. It says, IU, only PDP NEC can suspend me. Those Golden Ward Exco are ignorant. And you have Governor Wike supporting that suspension and saying, look, the chairman should have left. He led the party to failure. Emmanuel, what are your thoughts on the story?
Yeah, well, it's a bit for many people reading the story. It's a bit like, it's like deja vu. You wonder if it's a return of those pre-election days when that was the biggest issue leading to the election. So the election's been hard and it's lost, and so you're wondering why this is so very important now. Ayu seemed to be more interested in keeping his position than even winning the presidency. He's still defending so strongly that he must stay back. But of course, he's talking to the points of law that legally speaking, he shouldn't be, he can't be asked to just, those guys who signed those things in Benue State day before yesterday, they can't just ask him to leave, and that it's not so. We're seeing the return, a return to the trenches in this whole battle for Ayu. Remember that the G5, and I think it's the Punch newspaper brought it out in very clear terms. That is the G5 going back to the trenches and fighting for the battle of the soul of the PDP. So it will mean that all along, what the G5 actually wants is some kind of control of the party. And even now that they've led the party to defeat, they still haven't left the party. They still want the party. Some people say that it's the battle for the future. They need the platform for any future ambition, especially Wike, who some people think that he might be nursing some kind of presidential ambition. So we're back to back to those days before elections again. Ayu insisting that he can't be just booted out and that he must stay. It's a very familiar, very familiar encounter and very familiar stories around the subject of Ayu. And Wike saying that, okay, fine, even without the legalism around it, without even the whatever the procedures that you are talking about, because you've led PDP to failure, you should leave the party, you should resign on personal conviction. Well, we're yet to see how Ayu is going to respond to that. But of course, Wike and his friends can also be said to be responsible for leading the PDP to the ditch that it found itself, to electoral failure, at least apparent failure, because the PDP is still contesting strongly that election and saying that, look, there were malpractices. But for now, Ayu sitting talking tough and sitting pretty and saying that, look, no one can pull him out. Same kind of argument he made before the elections.
Emmanuel, while that's happening, the ICC, the International Criminal Court, has acknowledged a petition written by a Nigerian, Professor Gideon Christian, is asking the court to investigate election and post-election violence in the country, as well as incitement to ethnic hate by the media director of the president-elect, Mr. Bayo Onanuga. What do we see coming out of this?
Yeah, but that's a very important letter, and of course, the ICC looks into all those war crimes against crisis around issues of ethnic profiling, and especially those that seek to actually exterminate or deal with people just because of where they are born and all of that. So, and over the years, we've seen what ICC has been able to do with cases of that nature. It's serious when you actually petition, write such petition. It's a very serious matter. And ICC has been known in the past to have carried out judgments around verdicts around those kind of issue, and that's very serious. I think it's for those who have been petitioned against this, a very serious matter. Bayo Onanuga will have to be having sleepless night right now, because I mean, you never can tell how far this will go. But then it is up to the petitioners to be able to make clear-cut proof that they were targeted, and that something actually happened to the particular set of people that were targeted in those in those statements. Yes, so it's a serious one. Anything that has to do with the ICC, I guess, is something that whoever it's the people involved, both those petitioning and of course the person or the people petitioning against, should take very seriously. We'll see how that goes in the coming days, weeks and months ahead.
All right, Punch. You see there the picture of Ngige, Labour Minister, and Ajero, the NLC president. It says Ngige, MFL meet NLC over plant strike, bang queues deceased. What do you make of that meeting? And looks like the fuel lines are thinning out too.
Yes, yes, those lines are thinning out and seem to be. In fact, something for me, there is the bigger picture. It seems as if life is going back to some kind of, the ones we're used to before the election. There's a cash flow now, which is some people saying that they can access cash. And then, of course, fuel seems to be coming back. Everything was designed for those elections. The question I keep asking is that what was what was all that about? I mean, was it to get some kind of outcome for the elections? Yes, those strikes, even from yesterday, the reporting yesterday shows that NLC seem to be backpedaling on the issue of going on strike. So yes, those queues are thinning out, and it seems to be as if there will be some kind of solutions at the end of the day.
Emmanuel, INEC has now fixed April 15th for supplementary Guber elections and legislative polls. Now, there are two states that have been very controversial. You have Adamawa State and you have Kebbi State. In Kebbi State, APC says, look, it was an error for INEC to declare that election inconclusive. And then on the other hand, in Adamawa, it's PDP saying the same. So how do you see this dynamic playing out in these two states?
Well, first, yeah, but INEC, it's actually a troubling time for INEC that it couldn't conclude all the elections. And for some states, the review yesterday, the end of those review helped them, because a lot of states were also expecting that maybe there will be, the reviews were going to catch up with them and everything. But two states are out there now, Adamawa and Kebbi State. And Adamawa too seemed to be, you spoke about Kebbi, but Adamawa seemed to be also generating a lot of attention, basically because a lot of people think that it's an opportunity to have the first elected female governor. In Nkechi, you will like that, I'm sure. Yes, but the elections is democracy is in the mix of it, and beyond gender issues, there are the issues of voters, who they want to vote for, and it's the battle for second time for the incumbent Fintiri. A lot of people saying that the reruns might probably favor him, but that's INEC trying to do everything it can do to ensure that it gains some kind of respectability back, some kind of believability in its procedures and everything. So, because a lot of attack has gone, a lot of criticism, but INEC now coming out yesterday to say, look, we've reviewed all the elections, and as far as we're concerned, all the elections are okay. We've got these two states where we'll need to run for election, but other positions as well. So the rerun has been fixed. In those states, I can assure you that there will be a lot of running around, some kind of campaigning again, and people trying to see what can happen. But all eyes will be on Kebbi and Adamawa to see what really happened, because these two states have actually generated a lot of emotion. In Adamawa, of course, there are talks about the fact that it is the battle between those who favor the gender sensitivity of that race, of producing the first female president for the country. Some people are excited about that. Some also see the interplay of the presidency on one hand, and of course state government on the other hand, because remember, this is where the first lady, the wife of the president, Aisha, is from. So there's been story about where the interest is tilting towards, whether it's Fintiri on one hand or Binani, the candidate for the APC. So it's an interesting one. Between now and the 15th of April, all eyes will be on Adamawa and Kebbi State to see how they're able to do this. But for the other state, for them, yesterday's report was something like a bill of clean health for the governors to get their certificates of return, which starts from tomorrow, and then of course to see how far. But of course, the tribunals are up ahead in some of these, in many states. But INEC has justified itself or vindicated itself to say, look, we've reviewed those elections, we're giving opportunities to where people have complained that there were problems.
That's where we'll leave it today, Emmanuel. Thank you so much. That's the press preview. Let's hear from you. You can follow us on Twitter @AriseTV.